Manchester City need transfer plan to survive if Pep Guardiola's irreplaceable star goes through with exit plan. Bernardo Silva is Manchester City captain this season, but he has dropped a few hints that he could leave the club at the end of the season. How to go about replacing the irreplaceable might be a question Pep Guardiola has to wrestle with over the next 7 months or so. It's something Manchester City have managed previously. Big players have left the Etihad in recent years, and replacements have stepped up. Vincent Kompany, Fernandinho, David Silva, Kevin De Bruyne and Sergio Aguero have all left, and while their contributions were celebrated, things didn't fall apart without them. It's been a similar story this season, with Nico Gonzalez stepping out of the shadows to fill in for Rodri as he continues his elusive search for form and fitness after a serious knee injury. But another significant change is also on the way. At the end of this season, it looks likely Bernardo Silva will bring the curtain down on his 9-year City career. He is out of contract in the summer and will be desperate to depart, having lifted a trophy in his year as club captain. All the signs are pointing towards Silva opting for the exit door. As he said earlier this season, "I know exactly what I'm going to do, but it's not the time to focus on it." He offered similar sentiments after being handed the armband by Guardiola in the summer, and those aren't the comments of a player haggling over a new deal. They suggest that a player who has often toyed with the idea of a new challenge and considered leaving will finally take his bow. At first glance, replacing him doesn't seem to be so difficult. Even as club captain this season, he has started just 10 of City's 17 games. But you need to look at the games. He does start to see how important he is. He has been on the pitch for all but 2 minutes of the games against Manchester United, Arsenal and Liverpool. After Sunday's win against the defending champions, Guardiola again waxed lyrical about his captain. The headlines might have fallen the way of Erling Haaland and Jeremy Doku, but Guardiola saw just how important Silva was. "In the way we played today, he is a master," he said. The tempo, winning the ball, accelerate, decelerate, the intuition to know where the space is, how to manage the situations and so many things. He is one of the most clever players I have ever met. Bernardo struggled last season, but he was there, every single game exhausted. After 50 or 60 minutes of matches last season, he could not run one more minute. At certain moments, he said, "Pep, I'm drained. My mind is not there anymore, the feet." But he was there. And I said many times to my players, and to him, that will not be forgotten. That is why he is my captain. Because in the bad moments, he was there. Guardiola loves the influence Silva has, not only in the dressing room, but as an on-pitch tactical leader. The first line of that description speaks to how he managed and controlled the game against Liverpool. The 31-year-old was the conductor for the performance, forcing it when required, slowing it down when needed. That is what City need to replace last year. They aren't looking for a midfield that can start 60% to 70% of games. They are looking for someone who can match that level of game intelligence on the biggest occasions, and that is very difficult to find. Manchester City's solution to 2 problem positions isn't as surprising as it looks. Manchester City look to have settled on a first-choice fullback combination, and the identity of the players is something of a surprise. While one Manchester City fullback was busy shackling Mohamed Salah, the other was having an impact at the opposite end of the pitch. Nico O'Reilly took another step forward as a left-back against Salah, and Matheus Nunes continued his own renaissance with a superb assist for Erling Haaland. This isn't what anyone expected to say at the start of the season, but are the Portuguese midfielder and the English midfielder now City's first-choice fullbacks? Their record together would certainly suggest so. When Nunes and O'Reilly start together in the fullback positions, City have won 11 games in a row. In 16 starts together in total, they have 14 wins, a goalless draw at Old Trafford, and a meaningless Carabao Cup defeat at Tottenham. It is 7 out of 7 this season, and both players are in excellent form. Nunes looks to have seen off a challenge from Rico Lewis at right-back, although Abdulkadir Kusanov was staking his own claim for that role before picking up an injury in September. The departure of Kyle Walker left Guardiola searching for a solution in that position, and Nunes looks like being the unlikely winner. That was a change from left-back being City's usual problem position, with the £31 million signing of Rayhan Ait-Nouri from Wolves this summer, putting an end to that. But Ait-Nouri's early injury has reopened the door to O'Reilly, and the 20-year-old academy graduate has barged his way through it. He is now in the England squad as a left-back and is outstanding every week for City. He has the ability to make others play better, and the route back for Ait Nouri looks a difficult one. The combination of the two is, in some ways, typical of Guardiola. He used to regularly use midfielders in fullback roles, inverting them into the middle of the pitch to add more control. Then, in the treble-winning season, he often used central defenders there, with power and physicality essential. In Nunez and O'Reilly, he has a bit of both. The two are midfielders by nature, but they are also strong and athletic players and tall for fullbacks. They could arguably tick both boxes, with the technicality of a midfielder and the power of a defender. Nunez has improved defensively this season. It has been made clear he has no future in midfield in this team, but Guardiola has regularly repeated his belief that the Portugal international has what it takes to be a right-back, and that is starting to come to fruition. O'Reilly's future could potentially still lie in midfield. He came on centrally in the early weeks of the season, but has been excellent at left-back again, and his performance on Sunday was impressive. Salah has been a nightmare for many years with his speed, said Guardiola. We said to Nico he had to be aggressive. Otherwise, every time Mo had the ball, he was helped with one or two central defenders, and Jeremy and Bernardo and Phil. The team worked incredibly, and defensively they were really good, especially in the first half. Nico made a step up because you have to prove how you behave against the best wingers. It is no bad example to do that against Salah. Plenty of pieces are starting to fall into shape for this City side, and amongst them are two unlikely candidates making the fullback positions their own. Gianluigi Donnarumma was the odd man out in Manchester City masterclass. Manchester City goalkeeper Gianluigi Donnarumma watched and admired as his teammates played the ball up the pitch. Gvardiol to O'Reilly to Foden to Gonzalez to Doku to Gonzalez to Cherki to Gonzalez to Nunez to Silva to Nunez to Cherki to Diaz to Cherki to Nunez to Cherki to Gonzalez to Gvardiol to Diaz to Nunez to Haaland. 1-0 to Manchester City. Pep Guardiola is understandably pleased about the improvements that have been made to his side this season. New players such as Nico Gonzalez and Ryan Cherki have helped, as has a reduction in injuries and the deeper role of Phil Foden. If last season saw the City boss lamenting the difference between his team and the clubs that played modern football, such as Bournemouth, Brighton and Newcastle, after his 1,000th game in management, he has done enough to catch up with his team sitting 4 points off the top of the Premier League table. We can play in different ways now, he said after the 3-0 win over Liverpool. I think we are more unpredictable in the way we attack and the way we defend, and that is good that the opponents maybe don't know what we are going to do. City's tactics certainly confused Arne Slot, with the Liverpool manager admitting after their defeat that they were not prepared for the home team making the midfield so congested. We were constantly coming up 2 players short in the middle because Doku and O'Reilly gave us a lot of problems, he said. That may be a novel approach for the season, but City's overall philosophy hasn't changed, and the first goal against Liverpool showed it. Josko Gvardiol started it off as he slid in to send the ball in the direction of Nico O'Reilly near their own corner flag. 73 seconds later, the ball had just been touched by the 10th City player after 19 passes of the same move, and Erling Haaland was wheeling away to celebrate his header dropping into the net. A vintage Guardiola goal to mark a landmark occasion. The same was true last week against Bournemouth, if not quite as good. Both the second and the third goals in that game involved 9 City players. Quite revealing for the second in particular, given it looked as simple as Ryan Cherki flicking the ball through for Haaland to run onto. City are different this season and have adapted to changes in the modern game, yet their DNA is still unmistakably the Guardiola genes that have been so apparent from Barcelona to Bayern and then to the Etihad. Given there were still questions early this season about whether the coach would be able to bottle that up again, 10 players against Liverpool did that, while Gianluigi Donnarumma happily watched on. What Pep Guardiola did with Etihad crowd showed Man City have a new superstar. Manchester City turned on the style to beat Liverpool 3-0 at the Etihad, in a result that could have a defining impact on the title race this season. Manchester City delivered a statement win as they beat Liverpool 3-0 at the Etihad to close the gap on Arsenal to 4 points at the top of the Premier League. The Blues took advantage of the Gunners' stumble at Sunderland on Saturday to thrash the defending champions and mark themselves out as the likely challengers in what is shaping up to be a two-horse title race. Erling Haaland missed an early penalty, but then scored a header to give City the lead. Nico Gonzalez's deflected shot doubled the lead before the break, and Jeremy Doku capped an excellent individual performance with a stunning goal to make it 3. Conor Bradley was the toast of Anfield on Tuesday after pocketing Vinicius Jr. in Liverpool's win against Real Madrid, but he found life an awful lot harder against Jeremy Doku at the Etihad. Doku popped up on the right at times in the early stages of this game, but quickly decided his best chance of success was on the left. Bradley was worried by the sight of the winger running at him, and it was a major outlet for City. It was a defensive mess that led to Doku getting it to win the penalty, but it only added to Bradley's nerves, and he was on his heels every time his opponent lined him up for a run. Time and again, Doku burst past the Northern Ireland international and into the box. City's game plan became simple because Doku made it simple. His performance deserved a moment, and he delivered it with the spectacular third goal, cutting infield and sending a curling shot into the top corner. On the touchline, Guardiola raised both hands in the air and started conducting the celebrations behind him.